Okay, hi. Today I'm going to be explaining how to create barrier grid animation, also known as Scanimation. And I'm doing this for a workshop that I'll be teaching this semester. So what I'm doing is essentially the same demonstration as this lovely woman here on YouTube. So I highly recommend you checking out what she does, but I'll just be doing this for my class. So first I'll be teaching how to make a barrier grid, since Illustrator is a little tricky to use if you haven't used it before. So here's Adobe Illustrator on my MacBook Pro, and first I'm going to create a new file, new document. So I'm going to make a paper that is 11 by 8.5 inches. So it's in like landscape view. Okay, here it is, perfect. So the first thing we're going to do to make our grid is we're going to use the line segment tool here. And I'm going to hold the shift key and draw a straight line all the way down my page. Great. Okay. So you can see that our stroke is black, which is what we want. We can also make sure that the stroke is the correct width by just opening the stroke window, and we want that to be 1 point, so that's good. Okay, so right now it's a line, but we want to actually create a path outlining the line. So I believe I'm going to go to Object, Path, and I'm going to outline the stroke. And so you can see that those kind of lines change. There used to be a line inside, and now the blue line is actually wrapping around kind of this black rectangle. So that's good. Okay. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a couple copies of these. And so I'm going to assume that I'm making a barrier grid for a maybe a 6-segment animation or a 6-frame animation. So to do that, move this over here. I'm going to create a couple copies of this. So I'm going to go to Object, Transform, Move. I'm going to move it such that, so I want to make a copy of this first, and I want to move it such that it's flush with the original one. So this was 1 pixel wide. I'm going to copy it so that it's 1 pixel away, and you can preview to see if it's in the correct location. So I'm going to click Copy. Excellent. So I'm going to do that a couple more times. So that was the second, this is the first copy, but second line. So I can do Object Transform, and I can do that whole thing again, or I can just click Transform again, and that saves all of the, parameters we put in earlier. So that's just Command D. So I'm going to hit Command D a couple times. So that's now 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and so because this is, I said, a 6-frame animation, that means that I'm going to want to actually keep 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and delete the 6th line here, just like so. Okay. So next I'm going to connect all of these. I'm going to do that by searching Pathfinder, and I want to open up the Pathfinder window, and I want to merge all of these, so for one big block. Okay. Now I'm going to do our transform, and I'm going to move this over 6 pixels, I think, and let me preview that. Yeah, so I'm going to make a copy of that. And I'm just going to delete this one line that I created just as a guide. Perfect. So we're just going to do this all the way down the page. So I'm going to select this again, and I'm just going to keep clicking Control D over and over. Oh wow, it's like a page. Okay. So I'm just going to keep hitting Control D, and you can see just really quickly creating all these lines. And so remember that the relationship between the black barriers and the white gaps right now is that the black barrier is exactly equal to 5 times the width of that empty space. All right, and the last thing that I'll have to do to create my barrier grid, so I'm just going to highlight this, and I'm going to click Object, Compound Path, and Make. The reason why I want to do that is right now you can see that there's tons of paths, and we're going to be using this as kind of one big object, and we won't have to be dealing all these little pieces. So highlight this, go Object, Compound Path, Make, and then you'll see if you go to the Layers bar again, now it's just one nice compound path. So that's how you make a barrier grid. And I'll just say that this is a 6-frame barrier grid. And let me just demonstrate how you might make like a 7-frame, or let's do an 8-frame. Let's do a 7-frame barrier grid. And I'm sure that you can guess what we're going to do, but in case not, we'll do it together again. And that way too we can go over how to create those lines and such. So I'm going to say that this is a 7-frame barrier grid. Press OK. So if you recall, and I failed to mention this before, but we're going to create a line with a line segment tool, like here. So we want to make sure that the stroke is black. So I can just actually hit this little stroke color palette, and perfect, it's black now, so that's what I want. Hold down the Shift key, and I'm going to create a long line down the height of my page. And I just want to check that it's 1 pixel in width. So to do that, I can go to, I'm going to look for stroke, so that's the stroke window. And I just use the help search bar a lot. So you can see that, you know, stroke's 1. This would have a weight of 2 if I wanted it. Just want a stroke weight of 1 pixel. And then I want to outline this line. I want the path to outline it. So right now you can see that there's a line kind of going through this 1 pixel line that we created. But to change that, I'm going to go to Object, Path, Outline Stroke, and voila. So that's perfect. Okay, so I'm going to move this again so it's flush with the left-hand side of my page. And we're going to create a 7-frame barrier grid. So that means, since it's 7 frames, the barriers are going to be 6 times the width of the gaps in our grid. And so together you have, you know, kind of 6 little black segments plus 1 empty segment. That gives you 7 segments, 7 frames. So if that was complicated or confusing, don't worry, we're going to do this together right now. So I'm going to highlight this like we did before. I'm going to go to Object, Transform, Move. Remember, we want to move this 1 pixel, but we're going to copy it. And I can just double check to make sure it's actually going to be in the position I want it to be. So I'm going to copy it. Perfect. And then I'm just going to hit Command D to duplicate that transformation. So now I have 3 lines, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then I'm going to do an 8th one just as a guide. Okay, so remember, like I said, I'm going to delete the 7th segment. So I create 1 barrier that's 6 times the width of that empty gap. So again, I'm going to highlight all of these small segments, and I want to merge them. So I can go to my Pathfinder window right here, but if you forgot how to find that, you can just go to Help, Pathfinder, and it's in the Windows drop-down. And I'm just going to hit merge. Beautiful. Okay. Now I want to copy this down the length of my page again with gaps that are 1 pixel in width. So to do that, again, I'm going to go to Object Transform, Move, and I'm going to move 7 pixels. Let me just make sure that's right, and yep, it's flush with my, my little kind of measurement line here. So I'm going to copy, I'm not going to press OK, I'm going to copy it. Then I'm just going to delete this little guy that I used as a reference. I'm going to click on the duplicate I just did, and I'm going to hit Command D, and I'm going to go down the width of my page, so I'll show you that. Command D, all the way down. Okay. And last but not least, to make sure that we don't have to deal with all of these separate paths, I'm going to select all of my lines, and I'm going to go to Object, Compound Path, and Make. And then you'll see that I've made a compound path. So here's the 6 frame, and here is the 7 frame barrier grid. So that's how you make a barrier grid. Thank you.